Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning has been on the juvenile justice system, and my next guest knows all too well what it means to be considered an at-risk youth. He shares his personal story to help reach today's youth, proving that you can turn your mess into a message and your test into a testimony. It is a pleasure to welcome community organizer José Vásquez to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. As I stated, you share your personal story of growing up on Milwaukee's South Side as a young gang member to help change the lives of young people who face the same challenges that you faced growing up. So if you would, talk about first what attracted you to the streets as a young person.
I think for me, what kind of was my attraction was in my own family dynamic. It was dysfunctional. My father was absent. He wasn't in the picture. So for me, connecting to the streets was more of a family feel. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends, or as people would say, you know, the gang members, I never identified them as gang members. I identified them as my family, mm-hmm. you know, because they played that role. They didn't expose me to, as you would say, gang stuff. It was more of the love, the support that you get from a family. So at that young age, they kind of believed in me and showed me love where I wasn't getting anywhere else. So for me, the transition to kind of get involved and hang out with them came easily.
Uh-huh. So it was like basically knowing they had your back no matter what.
Yeah, it was giving me my self-worth, a self-acceptance mm-hmm. of who I am, you know, an identity.
And how old were you when you first joined the gang?
I hung out when I was 12 and I had just turned 13.
Okay, so a 12-year-old kid, you're seeing a lot go on. And so did it ever register to you like, that's wrong, I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be a part of this? Or was it, like you said, you just saw that these are people who care about me and that's most important?
The culture and the lifestyle became normalized because it was all I seen. So I wasn't able really to distinguish whether that's right or wrong. It was just normal to me, you know, and because it was normal to me, I kind of got conditioned to accept it as normal. So
that makes sense.
You know, so, and you think about young men and young women, you know, they have undeveloped minds. So at a young age, I'm being conditioned to believe something that as I get older, it's already practiced in me. It's already a part of me.
It becomes a way of life.
Yeah, and it's normalized, and because it's so normalized, it's so justified.
Wow. So we know in life that some things change, some things remain the same. So when you're talking to young people who are a part of what's going on in the streets, do you feel that things are pretty much the same, or do you feel like they've changed? Because times change, things change, but I'm interested in hearing your opinion.
I think for like the street lifestyle and the gang culture, to separate them two, I think there's still the glorification there. I think that hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I think the reputations that come from that hasn't changed. But what really hasn't changed is the attraction to it. And what attracts, I always say this, what attracts young men or young women to that life isn't what is offered, it's what's missing within. Mm-hmm.
And you made that very clear.
So it's a model, you know, like in a family structure, your patriarch's gonna show you a model and you're gonna follow that model.
So when you come in contact with young people, young adults, 12-year-olds, how are you able to convince them that there's a different way in living, or there's more to what's going on than what they see on an everyday basis? How do you really get that credibility across to these young people?
I think it's transparency. You know, it's open, honest conversations. Yeah. But it's also giving them the opportunity to arrive on their own, you know, so not being judgmental, because they may not see it as clear as I see it, because they don't know what it costs me to go through that yet. They don't understand there's even a cost to it. They don't even measure a cost. They just go through it. So what I've seen the work is just kind of a tireless effort of just being consistent, and then having honest discussions with them, you know, not because of what they're doing, but what is leading to them to believe that this is what they want to do. And having some challenging moments and having conversations with them that they may not get at home or that they may not get in a healthy environment.
So being transparent means that you share the fact that you were shot 6 times.
Yes.
So basically, it's a blessing to have you here, even
Yes.
sharing your story at all. And you also went to the penitentiary at the young age of 18. So talk about those experiences and how it really did play a role in making you the man you are today.
Yeah, oh man, when I was 17, felt untouchable, like a lot of youth do now. And I was shot 6 times, and yes, you know, it's a blessing to be here. By the grace of God, I am here. I happened to turn 18 in Wisconsin State Penitentiary, where there was a sense of self-preservation because I needed to hide behind the identity I created. But then I was dealing with the fear side of what's going to happen next in my life. You know, what's that journey look like? You hear stories, you hear what goes on behind bars, but what you don't hear is the isolation that it brings about, that silence, that what it does to your mind, what it does, how it numbs you, and how in that environment you have to shut down for self-preservation. So you're not able to talk about what it's really like to be incarcerated with people who are incarcerated, because it's not a vulnerability, but it's just an uncommon topic, you know, and it's not really addressed.
Wow.
You know?
So while you were in prison, you turned to the Bible.
Yes.
And you were able to leave there a changed man. So I may have already asked you, like, persuading another person who doesn't see things the same way as yourself, you know, how do you get through to them? What advice do you have to parents who may know that their son or daughter is kind of tangled up in wrong, maybe hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things? What advice do you have?
I think what it is there has to be a creative platform for both the youth that are going through it and then the families that are going through it as well, from the street life to even prison. You know, I truly believe that the correctional system does a bad job of not informing parents of what the traumas and what the experiences of young men and women go through while incarcerated. And that kind of gives them a disadvantage in helping them in their reentry process. You know, so I think for me, it's about connecting those dots, connecting those bridges, you know, talking to the young men about, you know, what does a life look like outside of incarceration? What does a life look like outside of gangs? You know, you're in this for what reason? You know, what self-preservation has you doing this life? You know, and do you know there are options? And what are those options? Are you comfortable with taking these options? Do you know if you've ever wanted to do these things? You know, having open discussions with the youth. And then with the family is, you know, how do you repair and reconciliate trust that's been broken from a parent to a child? You know, and how do you help a youth get that? You know, and then as a parent, how do you accept that, yes, I don't agree with where they're at in their life and choices they're making, but maybe I need to figure out how I can find a different way to support them through this. Because it's hard when there's love, and then it's hard when there's already broken trust, and there's, you know, I don't know if he's gonna change. I want him to change. I'm constantly hoping and praying he changes. But when it comes into, I think what comes into works more is when there's like a dialogue where there can be honest conversation between the both.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I try to
necessary,
mediate.
right?
Sometimes I try to mediate that if both parties agree. You know, sometimes the youth don't want that, and then sometimes they do. But it's just when they get there.
So here's the thing. I just had State Representative David Crawley here talking about the closing of Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake. So what are your thoughts on the direction that things are going, the closing down of these facilities, bringing young people closer to home? You got to have some thoughts on really whether this is a step in the right direction. What do you think?
When I first heard about everything, I thought about, you know, what is going to be their approach? You know, are they going to take a trauma-informed care approach? Are they going to take a harm reduction approach? I think the system wants to believe in rehabilitation, but rehabilitation is kind of imposing you're going to go back to something, you know. But I think that there should be a different approach. I think that when you bring kids, especially back to their neighborhood and to their surroundings, they become familiar. But if there's not a process in place where it incorporates the family in this process, you know, I think that's the biggest key thing, you know, of reconciliation, a kind of a youth family focus, case planning for the youth, because the families need to be involved in this process just as much as the community does. But I say reconciliation process because you need to repair the relationship at home, because that relationship is going to reflect how it looks in the community. And then the community, the youth, you needs to have an opportunity, community, to reconcile for the wrongs he's done in his life, you know, to repair some of the damage, to give back for some of the wrong he's done. So it's kind of a different approach. I don't know if it would be a favorable approach, but it's something that needs to happen, because rehabilitation is about self, but reconciliation is about oneself to the community and to the family. And what better way for a young man who spent maybe 7-9 months in Lincoln Hills to have a better reentry process with family and strong support system to get back, and then have the same opportunity to go back into maybe the system at a different space or a different platform, and talk about what it took for him to overcome things. Yeah,
because that's exactly what you're doing. There was someone there to mentor and help you get into a different place once you came back into society, so to speak. And now there's young people that you're helping that will do the same for someone else. So it really is a trickle-down effect. And my hopes are that in putting together these new facilities, that they will utilize people like yourself who have been there, done that, and you understand what's taken place with young people as we speak. I think it's important to know and be able to put those things into practice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, direct service to young men and women who have been incarcerated is important, but when you add experience of what incarceration feels like, and what reentry looks like, and what it takes to have a successful reentry, you know, that's when the game kind of changes. If you're in a room with a bunch of people who do direct service, but nobody's been incarcerated, nobody knows what reentry feels like, then you're kind of doing a disservice to the youth, because they don't have that inside voice that they need. Yeah. You know, and they may not be in a place for their voice to be heard because of where they're at in the system, you know, and the system is, I learned this in my experience, that when I was able to put supervision and everything back, and I was able to discharge, then my voice became clear, because I was able to prove that I'm not gonna be a statistic. I'm not gonna join the masses of people who they say are just gonna return back to prison, or recidivism rates are high. You know, so until I was able to prove that myself, then my voice was able to say something. And then I personally felt like I didn't accomplish anything until I can prove that I can overcome getting out the system. And then now that I've got out the system, and it's been years since I've been out and I've been doing the work I've been doing, I've been trying to connect the dots for the people coming out, you know, but also how it affects them, what it looks like. You know?
And we've got just under a minute, so quickly, if you could just mention a couple of the organizations that you work with where someone could possibly connect with you and utilize your services.
Okay, well, I work with a various different community organizations. I'll start with Crossing Jordan Ministries. I do a lot of gang outreach and prevention work there, street outreach. Project Excel, WCS, I've worked with them. I've done something with United Community Center as well, God Touch Milwaukee. So I get involved with like-minded people.
All right, well, thank you for all that you do, and I wish you nothing but the best.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. José Vásquez is a community organizer who is dedicated to helping at-risk youth stay off the streets, and it was Oprah Winfrey that said, a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself, and it's certainly a blessing to have people like Mr. Vásquez fighting for our youth. That's going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues in Milwaukee. Have a good one.